Well, this is going to be a fun one, so buckle up, grab a snack, let's get into it. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Justin here, and this is going to be the nature book tag. And I got, let's see, a stack of about 2 feet worth of nature titles right next to me. So yeah, without further ado, let's just go ahead and get into it. My shelves are getting all, I had to try to fix them because they got all discombobulated because I took out so many titles. I had to draw a line somewhere. A lot of the prompts, I have like 2 or 3 books, and it was just a mess because I just want to talk about all the nature books. I feel like I don't talk about them enough, and this is just like the perfect opportunity to do so. So thank you, Ania, so much for tagging me. This tag was created by Ania over at Well Traveled Books, as well as Tasman over at what is her channel? Wild Island Farm. They are the creators of Climathon. I'll leave a link to kind of my announcement video, like joining it and stuff. And it's sort of a year-long nature-themed reading initiative and stuff. But I'll just leave it at that for now, because like I said, this video, you might as well grab a snack for real, grab a drink. I don't know. This one's gonna be a long one. I can just tell. But yeah, just like I said, thank you so much, Ania. And let's just get into it with question number 1. You can technically answer these questions either with fiction or nonfiction or even other genres, as long as they kind of like, make sense and whatnot. But I wanted to keep with the spirit of, all my nature books and stuff. So I think I have, just completely nonfiction nature titles for everything. But I've said, let's just get started, I think 5 times, and we're like 3 minutes into the video. Anyways, what is your favorite book that has a heavy focus on nature? Now that's difficult. That is super hard. It's not even a fair question, I don't feel. So instead of a favorite book, I picked 3 titles from my favorite nature authors that I've at least read, I think at least 3 books from, to kind of give me some sort of parameters to focus on. But here we got The Trees in My Forest by Bernd Heinrich. He's got a lot of really cool books. He's probably most famous for Mind of the Raven, but I've also read Summer World, Winter World, Homing Instincts, A Naturalist at Large. Anyways, why I like him, why he kind of resonates with me so well, is he built a cabin in the middle of the woods in western Maine, and he is a world-renowned biologist, and he's actually performed a lot of his experiments, and has a lot of anecdotes and stuff from all his journals and nature observations and stuff from his basically living site out in the Maine woods, which I think is really cool. He used to kind of commute. I can't remember if it was the University of Vermont or something like that, kind of back and forth. He was also almost a Olympian marathoner as well. He's pretty well regarded as in the whatever the I don't want to say the senior category, I guess, for marathons and stuff. He's written books on just running and like I said, lots of really good academic stuff, lots of good popular science stuff. He lives in Maine, does experiments in Maine, just really cool, awesome author. Definitely go check it out. And then if I ever fall into, I've been saving one of his books, which is Cabin in the Maine Woods. And yeah, I've been just saving that for an ultra rainy day. If I'm ever just go into a super depression or something, I know that book will probably cure me. So I'm purposely just saving that to I can't resist or something. I'm not 100% sure. But anyways, Bernd Heinrich is really good. Next up, we got Carl Safina. We got Song for the Blue Ocean, Encounters Along the World's Coast and Beneath the Seas. This was his first book that it was pretty well regarded. I think it was 1998 or 99. Since then I've read Becoming Wild, Voyage of the Turtle, or Voyage of the Sea Turtle, and Eye of the Albatross, that I can at least think of off the top of my head. Anyways, Carl Safina is a kind of a marine biologist who has actually worked a lot with international policy making, as far as what kind of hooks and lines fishermen should be using, so you can reduce the bycatch, things like that. Just for example, when people are long lining for big fish, a lot of times the sea turtles were getting snagged because they were trying to eat the bait as well. With our hooks that him and other engineers designed, and he kind of advocated and lobbied for that to be kind of an international law and stuff like that. Just really good stuff, just really awesome. But he's also very down to earth. Most of his books, including this one, when they're talking about tuna fishing or whatever, he gets on the boat with them, and he's an avid fisherman himself, and he, you know, lives with them like on the boat for like, you know, months at a time sometimes. And he's able to describe, you know, what it's like, and, you know, he's there for like the average guy as well. So like I said, just really, really awesome. Definitely check out Carl Safina. And then lastly, this one's kind of weird. I feel like I should talk about him more on the channel. But we got Still Life with Brook Trout by John Girac. And he is a fisherman who writes, you know, his most famous book that I think launched him in like the 80s was Trout Bum, where he was just kind of writing his little fishing stories and everything. And I think he got serialized in a couple different magazines and whatnot. But instead of just kind of the what is it, hook and bullet kind of style, he kind of muses on philosophy and just living and, you know, kind of nature writing and stuff. And it's just really down to earth, just awesome writing. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's just his musings are just so poignant, so good. I don't know how to explain it. And each book is basically just a collection of like little essays like that on just different things, you know, whether it's, you know, buying a new like fishing vest or whatever, or, you know, going on road trips with your friends to like, you know, a fishing hole or whatever, you know, why fishing guides are almost as good as psychiatrists and stuff like that, you know. I don't know, just so good. This was the first one that I read by him. I'm not even sure why I picked it up. I think I just seen like his stuff in like bookstores and everything, and I was like, nah, I'll just like take one. And then I was like, wow, why have I been sleeping on this for years? And I think I've read like 6 or 7 out of like 20 or something like that now. So yeah, I might have like a vague idea for some kind of like deeper dive series on him. I'm not 100% sure, but like I said, it's nature writing with like in-depth fishing stuff with philosophy. Super good. I don't know what to tell you. Pick it up, try it. I don't even fish that much anymore. Like, I haven't fished for like 3 years probably, but it's still super good. All right, so that was question number 1. And there's, what, 10 questions? They're not all going to be that long. Hopefully not. Number 2. Which book gave you a wake-up call? Okay, so I got a couple I can use for this. It's kind of hard for me for a wake-up call per se, just because I've been kind of steeped in, like, the environmental issues and nature writing and stuff. That's just, like, what I've always kind of read since, like, around, you know, I guess college age, I'd say. So I can't think of any books particular that are like a straight up wake up call, but I got a bunch that I think would be like if I hadn't, you know, if it was like my first read on the topic or whatever. But the one I kind of recommend to people is The Story of More, How We Got to Climate Change and Where to Go From Here by Hope Jahren. She also wrote Lab Girl, which I just finished this month actually, and that's a really good biography or autobiography as well. But this book deals with pretty much all the pressing issues that humanity is kind of facing in regards to planet Earth. Like, let's see, like rising sea levels, but also kind of freshwater depletion, you know, big agriculture, how it's, you know, eroding the soil, this and that kind of thing. Energy crisis, obviously CO2 emissions, all kinds of basically everything along those lines, but just very down to earth, very readable, and it's not, I don't know, what's the word? I'm trying to think. It's not like super condescending. She's not trying to beat people over the head and everything like that, if that makes sense. I just feel like if you read this book, it's just so plain and simple, but easy reading, and it just feels like you're talking with her as you're reading it. Just highly recommended. Like I said, this is the one I actually recommend to people when they first get interested into like climate issues or environmental issues and that sort of thing. Lots of data as well, and resources and figures in the back of the book. So just really good. Definitely check that one out. For another one, this one's kind of a wake-up call on like a more niche topic. This one is Poached: Inside the Dark World of Wildlife Trafficking by Rachel Love Newer. I always kind of warn people with books like this, you know, if you love animals and stuff, it's gonna be a hard book. Like, if you're squeamish about animal cruelty and that sort of thing, it's gonna be bad. But I still think books like these are important to read because, I mean, I love animals and stuff. I got 4 rescue animals. I used to work in I was a veterinary technician for an animal hospital and stuff. You know, I don't like reading about like animal suffering and stuff either, but like I said, it's just really, it's just important to know. Anyways, what's cool about this book is she kind of goes undercover a lot in different countries. I can't remember all of them off the top of my head. I know she goes into like different Chinese markets, like, you know, for example, trying to buy, you know, pangolin scales and things like that, because that's, you know, some of those Eastern medicine recipes are using, you know, rhino horns, pangolin scales, things like that. You kind of a deep dive on a whole bunch of different topics. Tiger's blood, for like tiger blood wine and stuff, is a big one. The one, see, there's a couple others, just for example, like a lot of endangered reptiles are actually because people are catching them in the wild to sell them in the pet trade, things like that. The one that got to me the most, that I hadn't actually, I mean, I think I'd like kind of heard it in the ether a little bit, but I didn't really understand it. But this horrific practice of farming bears, actually, I think it's sun bears off the top of my head. But I have a lot of I have a lot of there's black bears around my place, and I have a soft spot for them. But they catch them in certain Asian countries for bear bile, and it's just a horrible practice where they're like hooked up in cages with tubes and everything to extract, like, you know, literally like their gallbladders and things like that. It's just horrible. I didn't realize like how prevalent some of these things were. So this one definitely was a wake-up call, and kind of, like I said, the niche thing of like animals and animal trafficking and animal byproducts and things like that. And obviously, like, you're going to deal with like elephant ivory, kind of the big name things as well. But like I said, just really good. Definitely opened my eyes to a couple of different kind of niche issues that I hadn't really looked into in depth. All right. Oh, and then one more for that question. We got A Life on Our Planet, My Witness Statement and a Vision for the Future by David Attenborough. And if you don't know who he is, why are you even watching my channel for? I don't have any idea. Go watch Planet Earth or something like that. Anyways, this is kind of like a tie-in book to one of his documentaries, which was A Life on Our Planet, which I think came out, I want to say 3 years ago and stuff. But it's a little bit of a memoir biography type book where he kind of relates, you know, he talks about how he was fortunate enough to do all these like really cool things all over the world and things. And at the beginning of each chapter, he talks about, there's like a section for his age, but then also like, I think it was at the level of deforestation as well as the level of CO2 emissions. Yeah. World population, carbon in atmosphere, and remaining wilderness. And you just see, like, you know, as time goes on, you know, the remaining wilderness goes down, the CO2 goes up, the population goes up. I would say if people like nature documentaries, but haven't really delved into like the climate change, environmental issue kind of stuff, this would be a really good kind of way to ease them into that. Probably because they'll at least like recognize David Attenborough and stuff. So really highly recommended as well. Okay, I think that was it for number 2. Oh man, 3. What is a favorite book cover that features nature? Okay, so I got 2 of them, because this was just this was a brutal question as well. I got like 10 I could probably just like pull off there. But yeah, I wasn't really, like I said, I didn't want to be here for like 3 hours. You know, we'll stick to like maybe 1 hour or something like that. So I picked one kind of more abstract cover and then one kind of more realistic cover. So the more abstract one here is The Heirloom Gardener, Traditional Plants and Skills for the Modern World by John Forty. I just really love this cover, the colors, kind of the wood block print. It's also like slightly embossed, so it's even got like a tactile feel to it and everything. And this is just kind of like a loose collection of essays, sort of things, entries on different traditional skills, you know, making different kinds of teas, some different gardening tips and stuff, but very like I said, like obviously from the subtitle, like the traditional practices and stuff. Like I remember like apple carts is like one of the first entries, and how those used to be like a big deal like in the community, and you'd always see them around and stuff, and now you don't. Things like that. I just thought it was really cool. I first heard about this book from Margaret Roach's A Way to Garden podcast, and that's why I picked it up. So there's this cover. All right, and then now for a more, I guess, realistic cover, I got another fishing book here, A Naturalist Goes Fishing by James McClintock. And actually, this was the, casting in fragile waters from the Gulf of Mexico to New Zealand's South Island. This was actually the first fishing book I read even before John Gierach. And I actually got it because it was like super cheap. But also, look at this cover. It's by Jim, what's his name? Jim something. I know it. I don't know why I'm not knowing it off the top of my head. Yeah, James Houtman, who I think the Houtman brothers are actually all, there's 3 of them, and they're all pretty famous as like realistic nature artists. Just like, look at this, you know, rainbow trout leaping. I just think that's like super good. We got rainbow trout where I live. It's kind of weird. I live in like a place where there's bass, but you gotta drive like an hour north or an hour south, so all we have is like brookies and like rainbows and stuff. But anyways, I picked it up because of that, and he, I think I mentioned Lost Antarctica pretty recently, and he's the author of that book as well. So he's actually an Arctic or Antarctic scientist, but he also loves fishing. And what was really cool about this one is it's part fishing, and then it's also part kind of the life story of the fish that he's like kind of talking about in each chapter, as well as sort of the natural history of the ecosystem and that sort of thing. So it's got environmental stuff, biology stuff, and fishing stuff kind of all tied together. And it's written, like I said, it's written by, you know, an Antarctic professor, researcher person. So that's, I don't know, I just think it's really cool. And it's kind of the book that, like I said, I was like, it's like $2, I'll just take a chance on it. And then, like, I'm like, wow, it's a fishing book that's, like, really good. And that kind of led me to try out, like, Still Life with Brook Trout. And that's, you know, a story for another day. Okay, I don't think that one wasn't too bad. Let's see. We got number 4, a book that discusses revolution and change. And I got a lot of history books, you know, dealing with revolutions and change, but just sticking on the nature side of things. We got one here. We got Masters of the Lost Land. Let's see, the untold story of the Amazon and the violent fight for the world's last frontier. And this is by Heriberto Araujo. I read this, I think it was last year, just really good. This is about kind of the modern history of, you know, the last, like, you know, 3 or 4 decades of kind of these just lawless logging companies that are kind of, you know, running wild in, you know, Brazil's like interior in the Amazon and stuff. In particular, there was a union that was trying to form, and the kind of the rabble rouser, we'll say, I shouldn't probably say that, he was the kind of like the head man leading it, and, you know, the communities were all like turning to him, and he was getting stuff done. And so, you know, these logging barons basically assassinated him. And it's the story of how his wife has kind of kept the fight going over the past like 30 years or so, and trying to get justice for him, but also, like, you know, bringing up the workers' rights and, you know, human rights violations to the spotlight, so like the world can see, like, you know, what is going on out in, you know, basically the Wild West of the Amazon jungle here. Just really good. I feel if you're interested in kind of like modern stuff like that, modern environmental issues, this is a pretty big pressing one. And it was really good. I encourage you guys to read that as well. And then the other one, I had one that I thought was kind of interesting. I read a long time ago. It's Greenpeace Captain: My Adventures in Protecting the Future of Our Planet by Peter Wilcox. He's the boat cap. I don't know if he still is, but at the time, he was the captain of the Rainbow Warrior, which was kind of like Greenpeace's flagship. And he kind of talks about, like, just, you know, all the different operations and stuff that, you know, he was a part of, and, you know, just like what it was like to actually, like, you know, take the boat places and how you went about doing that and that kind of thing. So yeah, Greenpeace is, you know, I feel like all these big organizations always kind of have like skeletons in their closet and stuff, but I think generally Greenpeace tries to keep a pretty clean slate and stuff. So, but like I said, it was pretty interesting. It was just something kind of different, kind of like real life adventure stuff, you know. And they're obviously promoting like non-violent change, and that's like kind of a big thing for Greenpeace, is like they try not to do like hardly any vandalism, things like that. It's all like kind of like non-violent protests and whatnot. But like I said, just kind of really interesting, and I thought that fit the prompt pretty good. All right, we got number 5. Do you read outside? And if you do you have a favorite spot to do so? So a long time ago, when I used to read even more on my Kindle, I could just like, because like, you know, had the night back 15 years ago, that was kind of a big thing when the screen didn't like get all the sun glare and stuff. I used to just like lay outside in the grass and read. I used to have a hammock. I don't have it anymore. That one I like as much. Used to always read and fall asleep in the hammock. But actually, what I will say is, when I do read outside now, my favorite for reading outside is actually like when I'm going camping or tenting, even if it's not like, you know, in the wilderness, if I'm just tenting with like family or friends or something. I always enjoy like in the, you know, at night, you know, after the lights go out and stuff, like I just like reading in the tent or like, you know, outside by the campfire or something. Just, I don't know, that's something like I always do, and I just really enjoy that. Okay, number 6. What is your favorite Indigenous author or book? Okay, so on I left a comment on Ania's video, and I was like, you know, I'm gonna try to bring up or not bring up braiding sweetgrass in my video because it's gonna be in everyone's version of this book or video. Man, I feel like I went about 30 minutes there probably without missing, so I felt that was pretty good. But anyways, like I was saying, I said I'm gonna try to go without bringing braiding sweetgrass up because everyone else is gonna have to. And then I was like, it just doesn't feel right not including braiding sweetgrass, Indigenous Wisdom, Scientific Knowledge, and the Teachings of Plants by Robin Wall Kimmerer. She's also written Gathering Moss, which I have like right over there. Also really good. Braiding sweetgrass is definitely just, if this is the only book you read from all the stuff I'm talking about, you'll be in good hands. It's amazing. I love this edition too. I had the paperback version, but I gave that away. Yeah, I gave that away to someone. So I think someone got me for my birthday, like kind of a while ago, the nice hardcover kind of like fancy edition of it, I guess. So I'm gonna probably do a reread here pretty soon at some point. Maybe actually like annotate it and that kind of stuff. Maybe, I don't know. I've been starting to annotate books a little bit more, so I feel like this will be like a really good one because this is just one of the best books of all time. Like I said, read it. Of all the books, this is probably the one to read. Just a literary masterpiece. Just, you know, just the beautiful mishmash of science, Western science, kind of like the hard science, but also like, you know, like I said, Indigenous wisdom and kind of, you know, natural philosophy coming together and making an awesome kind of way of looking at the world. Just super good. Read it. That's it. Just read it. All right. Number 7. A book that takes place outside or features nature as a character. So the nature as a character part is, I think, for people that read a lot of fantasy and fiction and stuff. Like if you have, like, I think, like anthropomorphic characters and things like that. But so a book that takes place outside. So a lot of these books kind of take place outside per se. But I got 2 that I felt fit pretty good. First up, we got Golden Wings and Hairy Toes: Encounters with New England's Most Imperiled Wildlife by Todd McLeish. And he is a journalist who, in this book, I think it was about 10 or 12 different I guess research opportunities. He just like volunteered with different professors and scientists as they were studying different New England flora and fauna. And you know, most of the time you're out in the weeds with them, you know, putting in some elbow grease, doing like live traps or like looking for the bugs or counting the plants, whatever it is, you know, he's kind of out there doing it. And it's, you know, New England creatures and stuff. One of them was actually in my county, which I thought was really cool. Wow, when he was talking about lynx. You know, they're going out like trying to collar and track them and things like that. So I only lived about like half an hour away from the forester station, I think, that he was working out of there for. So yeah, thought this one was really cool. And then for another one, we have Birding Without Borders: An Obsession, a Quest, and the Biggest Year in the World by Noah Stricker, who's written a couple of good books. He's also written The Thing with Feathers, which is like a profile of 10 of his favorite birds. He's written a birding basics book that I've also read as well. And look at this cover. This one's also like another cover, you know. How do you judge what's the best nature cover? I don't know. I'd have to make a list of like 20 or something. Anyways, this was his. He had a goal to break the world record for the big year, which is seeing the most number of different bird species in a single calendar year. I mean, you know, 99.99% of the time he's out. Well, I guess he's on planes and stuff a lot in that sense, but you know, most of the time he's out there in the field and you're getting his like observations, kind of what he's thinking about. What's really lovely though about this book, I thought was kind of like a not hidden gem, it's like a feature of the book, is he highlights you know, how awesome it was. He kind of just reached out to different like birders in different countries and stuff, just asking for help. You know, can you help me find, you know, this species, or what's a good hotspot to go, and blah blah blah. And he pretty much everywhere he went, he always had people, you know, just willing to volunteer their time to like help him out because they had a love of birding as well. Just really super cool. He did break the record temporarily. It was broken, I think, a couple years after him, but I think he saw can't remember. I think it was like 5,600 species, something like 6,042 species, which is, you know, roughly, there's about, depending on how you break them down, sometimes there's you know, debates on if, you know, a couple different species are one species or vice versa and whatnot. There's usually around between like 10,500 and 11,000 species of birds and stuff. So he saw over half the world's different species of birds in a single calendar year. So if you enjoy birding, this is a cool book to read. Highly recommended. Just a lot of fun. All right, I feel like we're getting close. My pile is dwindling finally. Like, I don't mind though. I love talking about nature books. So we got 8. Which books do you associate with each of the four elements: fire, earth, water, and air? All right. So with this one, I at first I was like, I'm gonna try to be a little bit more abstract because there are books on fire, there's books on heat, there's books on drought. I have some books on those things. I was like, no, I'm gonna be different. And then I like ended up not being that different after this first one. So for fire, I got Improbable Destinies, Fate, Chance, and the Future of Evolution by Jonathan Lossos. And this is just a book I feel like I don't talk about enough. So I was like, how can I fit this in here somehow? And I was thinking for fire, you know, fire in the ancient Greek philosophy, like the pre-Socratics, right? Heraclitus. He was like, you know, everything is in change, everything's in flux, just like fire. I don't. So I was like, you know, this book is all about convergent and divergent evolution and everything like that. And I was like, you know, like, kind of fits. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't. But anyways, like I was saying, this book is all about, I guess, like I said, convergent and divergent evolutionary paths that different animal like branches had taken, how they kind of merge, like how they all come to like different or similar answers, even though they're like on totally different, you know, areas of. We always say like the evolutionary tree, even though that's actually not really a good metaphor anymore. But just because they're facing the same kind of environmental pressures, so it's kind of interesting how they do that. Anyways, like one of the really cool ones, kind of examples, is he was studying geckos out in some of the Caribbean islands, I believe it was. And after hurricanes would go through, it kind of would give him like a huge real world lab experiment, basically. And it was just showing how, like, within a couple generations, like, the geckos could actually, like, you know, change, you know, body forms, like, pretty quickly between, like, having bigger and, like, longer tails and, like, different feet and stuff, so they could grip different parts, like, either branches or grass or whatever, better. Just thought that was really, really cool. Just a really awesome book. I really enjoyed it, and I feel like I didn't talk about it enough, so I forced it into fire with Greek philosophy somehow. I don't know. So for water, I went definitely more traditional. So I got tons of books on whales, books on sharks, tons of books on fish, books on rivers, fishing, this and that. But I love this cover, even though this one's pretty beat up. I'm not sure what I was doing to get it like quite so dirty and stuff. But we got The Sound of the Sea, Seashells, and the Fate of the Oceans by Cynthia Barnett. Just a really, really awesome book. I just highly enjoyed it. It's all about, you know, the different creatures that make seashells. You know, all the shells you see, and even like a lot of the, almost all the sand you have on like sandy beaches and stuff, used to be part of like a living creature, a living organism that formed some sort of shell or carapace or something. And like, you know, kind of after they die, you know, the hard part is kind of like what's left, and that's what washes up on shore. Everything kind of goes over that, but deals a lot with kind of climate change, you know, how the rising acidity of the oceans, because with all the CO2 emissions, the reason we're not at like 200 degrees right now is because, you know, the oceans are actually absorbing, I think it was like 90-something% of the CO2 emissions. Unfortunately, what that does make the oceans quite a bit more acidic, and that kind of throws off sort of the makes it more difficult, I guess I should say, for different sea creatures I think I can't remember if it's calcium carbonate, something like that, to make their seashells and repair them like better. They have to use more energy, and it's just like a lot more stressful for them. So anyways, like I said, you'll learn a lot about that sort of thing. Has a really great cover, has a really great topic, has really great writing, so read it. Next up we have Earth. I'm gonna put up a literal one. We got Monty Don's Down to Earth. So I've been on like a Monty Don kick. I've been reading some of his gardening books. I just started listening to this kind of gardening book / memoir book for People April as just kind of a nice fluffy read. Well, I guess listen in this case. I've been watching Gardener's World recently a lot. So yeah, I was just like down to earth, and he is down to earth, and I just really enjoy it. Just feel really grounded. Just feels really calming. It's kind of what I associate with like earth and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely check that out if you like gardening. And then lastly for air, I got tons of books on birds. I think I showed 1 or 2 of them in there. Got plenty more in there, but I feel like I didn't talk about insects enough, and my favorite insects are dragonflies. So here's Dragonflies and Damselflies: A Natural History. This is by Dennis Paulson. He's written like this giant field guide. He's got Dragonflies and Damselflies of the East, which I do have. Also Dragonflies and Damselflies of the West. I have a kind of a goal to try to identify one of every dragonfly species in Maine. But it's just got a lot of like the actual technical life history, tons of awesome photographs, different species profiles and everything. But like, just look at the dragonfly's eye. Like, that's so cool. Ooh, I don't know if there's a glare. There might be a glare. Actually, it might go out of focus. I gotta get a better camera so I can actually tell when these go out of focus and stuff. But anyways, I love dragonflies, and they fly through the air. They eat the mosquitoes, and the black flies are terrible some years. So anything that eats the mosquitoes, I think, is good in my book. Plus, dragonflies are just, I don't know, there's just something about them that are super cool. I couldn't even really describe it, but they're my favorite insect by far. Like I said, just really love them. And, you know, here's just a really cool in-depth science book about them. Alright, so that's the end of my stack. So, but I think there is one more question if I remember off the top of my head. Let's see, number 9. We are all connected. And I know when I wrote that down, all I could think of was in a circle in a hoop that never ends. For those who know that song. Anyways, we are all connected. Name a book that brought you community or made you think about community. And I think what they were kind of going for was like buddy reads. You know, a book you might read as part of a book club and stuff. I'm actually, I don't have a book per se, but I'm going to just say Historathon in general. I feel really good being part of the Discord community there. I feel like I'm able to contribute, but I'm also like getting like lots of different book recommendations, a lot of good just discussions on different history events. People are asking questions and like learning from each other, giving advice and book recommendations and thoughts and everything, like in different, like, you know, just links to learn more and everything, even if it's not a book. I just feel really glad to be part of that, and I'm glad it's going well. So if you like history and stuff, go look for Historathon. Yeah, I don't think you'll be disappointed. And then 10, have you ever participated in Climathon, or are you planning to? I did participate in 2022. 2023 I didn't really do anything. I didn't do anything really last year. But this year I'm definitely going to be trying to do more. I've done kind of like a little video highlighting it, and then I still got to do a video like going through like each of the prompts where I want to try to actually get a book and kind of do a TBR kind of video for it. And kind of go through the story graph and everything like that. Challenge that they have going for it. But yeah, I definitely plan on participating much more fully this year than I did last year, or even I did read the group read in 2022, which was, I think it was All You Can Save, if I can remember off the top of my head. But there you have it. That was the nature book tag. So thank you so much, Ania, for creating it and tagging me. Really enjoy it. Like I said, nature books really are my thing. I know history books are kind of easier to talk about in a way. I just feel like nature books are still like a little bit more niche for some reason. I'm not really sure why that is, but I just really enjoy doing stuff like this to kind of highlight tons of nature books. So let me know what your favorite nature book is. And surely there was at least one out of this stack of like 15 there that sounds interesting to you. Let me know what that is as well. I'm definitely going to tag a few people though. Springathon is just around the corner, which is actually a reading event focused for about 2.5 weeks, all on, you know, nature history, or not nature. I was going to say natural history, nature writing of all kinds. And I'm going to tag the 4 creators for that. We got Heidi at My Reading Life, Doris at All of the Books, Emma at A Couple Books, and Natalie at Curious Reader. I'm also going to tag Farrah at Bookstalgic. She does a lot of like kind of nature vlogs, like kind of, I think it's like every like month or every 2 weeks or something. She does like a kind of a video where she's like, you know, she was doing like a lot of like snowpath walks and showing different highlights of animals and stuff she was seeing, and she reads a lot of kind of like nonfiction as well, so I think she'll have good recommendations as well for this kind of stuff. All of them are actually really good channels. Anyways, like I said, I'll leave their links down below. Go check them out, go sub to them, tell them I sent you if you want to, everything like that. So there you have it. I feel like I've rambled on long enough. I need a drink of water, something like that. But always remember, whether you're reading books on nature or not, read victoriously.